it is a benefit to her to use the cultural superpower of blackness in her campaign. It's actually a shrewd business move.
Yeah, it is.
If you're for real black, you take a chance of not being elected. A real black president is going to say, okay, I am black, I'm in the office. What can I do specifically for black people? And I can do that without marginalizing anyone else. I don't think Mr. Trump is a racist, but if he was a racist, I wouldn't even care. Forget that Dr. King was right there. Forget that Malcolm X was right there. Forget that they were coming together with this common understanding of what it was to defend black people and what it was to resolve this problem. Forget that and just say that it's resolved. Where is white supremacy at? Where is it? Oh, it's in the church. Like the system of how church works is white supremacy.
I think it's hard for church to just kind of admit that.
They trying to put me in a John Deere hat and give me a country accent.
I cannot imagine.
Well, how everybody I'm like, really? With John Deere, I was going to be Uncle Tom for real if I wasn't. I'm just saying. Looking on from where I come from what I know, from who I am, and what I know of the people of my background, very clearly, you are part of a racist organization. And what it was is I was just me. I wasn't good at being white.
Hi, welcome back to God Will Give Me Podcast. We're so happy to be here again with you today. We're your hosts. My name is Sophia Benyon. This is my cousin Peyton Benyon. And we got your favorite back with us, Camille Benyon. So happy to be here with you all.
Welcome back to our channel, everybody. If you're new here, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll appreciate it so much.
Everybody loves Camille.
Yeah, but she's not always here, though. You're saying you're favorite.
No, she doesn't always come.
She doesn't always come.
Okay.
She says, I don't want to talk about that.
Coming.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about
So
that.
she's everybody's favorite.
They always say, bring Camille back.
Let's interview her.
Should
No,
we?
we're not
Like us
going to
three?
do that.
Yeah,
No, we'll
that-
ask her questions.
Gotta be she.
We're getting off
Laugh
topic
too hard
over here.
today. We are super excited. Actually, this, in a way, this is a podcast we've been waiting the whole year for. So we are so excited to have Brother Steph and P. Hargrave here with us. If you've watched any of our other videos, you've heard us talk about his book. You've seen his book in the background of our shots. You've seen the picture of him. You know who he is. So we're so proud. We're so honored. We're so excited to have him. And we're also so proud and honored that we just grew up with him in our lives and his influence in our lives. And it's partially his influence that even helps us to have a podcast and helps us to know how to formulate our thoughts and what to think about things. And sometimes before we podcast, we run over to his house like, can you tell us how to think about this? Or help us know. And he doesn't, he helps us think through it. And we love that. So we just want to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. But I just feel like he's going to be like, this is your podcast. Say whatever you want. But really what we want, we just want him to talk. And we just want to sit here and soak it up. So happy to have you, Brother Steph.
I'm glad to be here. I really am. I'm actually proud of y'all. You're gonna be more famous than ever. Like right now, you're a little famous, but you're gonna be a lot famous here shortly, which is good. It's good, and I don't mean famous like you just want some kind of notoriety or you want to be a movie star, but I mean famous in a good sense. Like people need to know you. They need to know your thoughts. They need to know all about what your life is. So.
I hope so. We want to be, I don't know, a positive presence on the internet.
You are. So thank the Lord. All right. So what are we gonna talk about? It's y'all's show.
Well, a lot of people feel like we should talk about politics, and we're interested in politics. We talk about it sometimes amongst ourselves, but sometimes we're like, dare we get online, because you got to be so careful and talk, because people are so triggered so easily.
Be careful. What do you mean?
Just how you word things, the words you use, the way you say it, the opinions you state.
Sure.
Just because I feel like any little thing sets people off, and you say one word and they immediately associate you with this side or that side. It's like, wait, that wasn't what I was saying. And you just have to be so precise. So sometimes we're kind of scared about talking about it, but we're not scared if you're here.
Sure. Well, people are going to be triggered either way, right? So, no matter what you do. Okay, so what do you want to talk about? What about politics?
Well, yesterday you said you wanted to talk about Mr. Trump.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to talk about Mr. Trump. We need to talk about Miss Harris, too.
We do need to talk about
the
Miss
VP.
Harris.
What y'all think about her? Now, I'm switching. I'm doing a flip.
You interviewing us now.
Tell me what you think about Miss Harris. You've already said this on some of your podcasts. So,
Did we ever talk about Miss Harris?
We may have mentioned her name, but I
Well,
don't think if we've given like a definite.
Well, you need to mention. What are your honest thoughts about her in terms of her ethnicity? Now, I know this is your podcast. I'm not just going to ask you questions all night, but like her ethnicity is a deal.
Like it comes up all the time.
It comes up. It's not like something we're bringing up. It's not
Right.
like, in some ways, some people don't even really care because people are more focused on whatever they feel the issues are. But what do you think about her ethnicity? So she's a black woman or not, or what do you think? Like, what are your sincere thoughts about it?
I just think it's interesting that she didn't really used to identify as being black, which I know she does. She is black as far as like she's like one of her parents is what they call mixed
You know what?
or something. Like I think she has a little.
I think one of her parents
African-American
is
in her.
half.
But I just think it's interesting that she chose to identify. Like I think before she identified as Indian, which she's also right, like Indian from India.
But when she saw it was an advantage, then
Sure. I would think that it's clear that she's Indian, right? So I've seen even pictures in the past where she has, and pardon me, I'm not trying to be offensive, the red dot.
Oh,
Okay, what is
Okay.
that? What is that actually called? Okay, and I just don't know. So I'm not trying to be offensive, but the point is that I've seen pictures that indicate that she was raised as an Indian.
oh, she was even raised kind of
Tika, I think.
in that culture. You're saying.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely.
You're right. Camille, it is.
Like
It's
her.
a tika.
Tika.
What's it called?
Tika.
Okay, a ticket. So my apologies, I didn't know what it was called. But generally speaking, I think that's even a little bit of evidence. Generally speaking, that wouldn't be something that's known in the black community. Like it's not something that is part of our culture. Which to the point, oh, okay, yeah, we just know respectfully, but that's in India. There's actually nothing wrong. What's wrong with being an Indian though?
Right.
What's wrong if that's Indian? If she's Indian, respectfully, Miss Harris, she's an Indian. And you said that you don't think she was identifying as black before?
It seems sudden that she started.
Sudden, like last
Like-
5 years, sudden?
Maybe since she became vice president, or
Okay.
so.
So you don't think she's black? I just put y'all like I'm
You
putting
are 100%
I'm putting you
on
right
spot.
there in trigger points.
Yeah, I mean, I think technically
Okay.
she's black, but
I'm
I
asking
don't
'cause-
know for I don't if she wasn't identifying as black, then how's she just gonna come up and all of a sudden start saying
all of a sudden she's black. Okay, I understand. Well, Mr. Trump said that, and everybody was attacking. Like I shouldn't say everybody, but many people were attacking him because he said all of a sudden she turned black. And Mr. Trump, he just
He
is
won't
kind of
say
raw.
anything.
Says whatever.
Yeah, like he's raw with it. I actually don't think that he was trying to be insulting.
When he said that about her.
I don't. Now, obviously, it's my opinion. I don't know Mr. Trump, but I don't think he was trying to be insulting when he said that. I think he was being sincere. Now, he can be insulting, surely. And there probably are times when he is trying to be insulting. But I don't think...
for sure.
I actually don't think in that moment he was like, hey, I don't know. She became black all of a sudden. I didn't know she was black. And really, I don't say Mr. Trump is inarticulate. I think that would be foolish to say. He's articulate in his own way.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he could even explain what he meant to anybody's satisfaction. Because technically he could say, no, I know what black is. Now, I'm not saying I'm black, but he could flash some pictures like from back in the day. This is black. These are black people. These are people I'm with. I'm with these rappers. I'm with this community. Those I have understood to be black people. And all I'm saying is...
She knows.
All I'm saying is, I never knew her to be that when I was hanging out with the black people from the
Right.
last 30 years or 40 years. And that is actually legitimate. Like they kind of castigated him for that, but that's really legitimate. What he's
kinda
saying.
Well, how do you think the black community, like, do you feel like in general it accepts her, or they're pretty divided about it, or?
I mean, black community, I would think everybody has their own little understanding of it. I think there are many black women and black men that would absolutely accept her as black. No problem. And then I think there's some that no, they would say absolutely not. So there would be this division, which I think is the point of politics.
Right, for
It's
sure.
just simply to divide people because, to be very honest, there's a sense where it doesn't matter if she's black or not.
Right.
The issue that I feel, and I can't speak for everybody black, but the issue that I feel that black people would have with her claiming to be black, those that don't agree, is not so much I'm going to deny you whatever you are, not so much I'm going to disrespect who you are. It's just I know who we are, and I think you're using us to promote an agenda that has nothing to do with us. I think you're using us like we've been used continually in the country, and it's not even necessary. Just be an Indian or be be whoever you are. And I think that's more the point. Whereas I think others that would say, "Oh yeah, black woman, first black woman," and I think in some sense there's an honest desire to have us, black people, find a measure of success and be thought of well, especially like if you're a woman, a black woman. We need something. Like as a community, like we'll take pride in something. Like we'll take pride.
Sure.
Hey, that's us. I'm taking pride in that. So I think the desire or the acceptance can be born of something sincere, but this is one of the reasons why people that don't believe that she's African American have a problem with it. Because what you're doing is you're reaching into our people's psyche, our people's desires for good, and you're perverting that by presenting something that we internally, intrinsically, we actually want that. And you're basing your running, your campaign on this. No, let that dog bark. That makes it more real.
Needs to be quiet.
No.
You can shut the door or whatever.
No, that actually makes it more real. Keep that. Yeah, keep
the
that
dog.
in the tape. Everybody think, yeah, they're just people.
Yeah.
Dog
out there.
We in the house.
Dog out there barking.
We in the house.
Okay, yeah, let's keep that. But what I was saying is, I think that is one of the reasons why black people, African Americans, and of course I'm speaking generally, every African American would not accept what I'm saying right now. But there would be some that would. And one of the reasons why we would feel like it's more cruelty what she's doing is because we know that our community, our people, we really do desire something. We really do want to see us succeed. We really do want to see something and someone. I'm proud. Look at what we did. In the middle of all of what we've gone through, we have this accomplishment and we'll be happy. But if she's, propagating herself to be that and she's not that, and she's kind of twisting and perverting in this scenario, twisting and perverting the emotions, the mentality of our people, and using that to gain money, to gain wealth, to gain support, and then project us as something that really our culture is not.
Yeah, like how she gonna represent.
Then that is going to be a problem. And so
you think that's like the issue? Like you were saying before, it's like she's using us, but not for, like, it's not like I understood from what you're saying that she's claiming to be black, but not to help the black community, but more to use it. What did you mean by that?
Well, the answer is yes, I'm saying that, but I'll elaborate a little bit, and thank you for the question. I would not be so cruel to Ms. Harris as to say she does not care about us. I don't know that that is fair. From a human perspective, I would have to say she does have some human care for us. You can hear some people say, she don't care nothing about us, okay? I don't think I would go that far. In terms of black culture, I personally wouldn't believe that she has the ability to care for us as black people need to be cared for, not being one of us. And it is a benefit to her to use the cultural superpower of blackness in her campaign. That is a total benefit. It's actually a shrewd business move.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
for sure.
That's like a gangster move. Really. I'm not saying it's good, but it's like a gangster move. It's like somebody saying, okay, you look like one of them, close enough, because there's
brown. I mean, we could
the
look like
shades are
anything.
many. Like the shades are many.
Right.
You look like one of them close enough. It's actually a shrewd business move to say, okay, hey, I'm going to be one of them because they have some cultural, not financial, but we can get some money. We can get some money. Like, us being us can create money, just not for us, which is another problem why we're having a difficulty accepting that. But it is a shrewd business move for her to look and say, I'm going to use this cultural currency to raise money, to raise awareness. Actually, it's going to kind of make me, she's a 60-year-old woman, it's going to kind of make me appear cool with the young people. I'm going to make sure Gen Z knows I love Gen Z. And so it's actually a good business move. People that say she's not intelligent, I would differ. I would think she's immensely intelligent. So intelligent that she has gotten by with using a culture that is not hers to promote her agenda that really has no desire or no bearing on the black community itself. Because really, should I keep talking?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We're learning.
Because really, black people, let me tell you something about black people.
Black people.
In some ways, in some ways, now, and when I say let me tell you something about black people, there's always going to be a black person because this is what we do. You ain't talking about me here. Okay, I understand. I'm only talking about who I'm talking about. Like, honestly, I would give somebody the respect to say, that man, I don't like how he looks, I don't like how he sounds, he ain't talking about me and I'm black. I respect that fully. So I'm not pretending to speak for every black man or woman. But there is a demographic that's leaning in right now. Like there's a demographic of black people. It's like, okay, go ahead, talk. Okay. What I'm saying, black people, there's an argument that we have never actually had a black president.
I've heard about that.
Okay.
It's like
Now,
Obama.
I want to tell you something. All respect to Mr. Obama. To be very honest, I like him. I like Mr. Obama. I go farther. I love Mr. Obama. I think he's dignified. I think in terms of the political characteristics, what is proper, his eloquence. Even they say he got somebody said he had swag. Hey,
Presidential swag. I don't know.
No problem. I actually like him. I respect his wife. First of all, I would say they are black people. I would say Miss Obama is for real black people.
Yeah.
She probably smells like cocoa butter.
That's good.
Like
She looks like she does.
I'm not trying to be full of shit. Like she's somebody's anti-black. Okay. Now I would say Mr. Obama's black, but yes, back to what I'm saying. Am I being confusing? If I am, y'all stop me. It's your podcast.
I feel like
We're gonna say
and your listeners are going to say, why didn't you stop him and talk about it? And then I'm going to say, hey, that's y'all's fault. You just stopped. Okay. But Mr. Obama, for example, and I want to give him all the respect due. I'm not humoring you. Y'all know me. I really like him. I think he's intelligent. I think he's eloquent. I think he's an outstanding businessman, outstanding diplomat. He knows exactly how the game is played. And there is a level of leadership swag to him. There really is.
For sure.
But there's a demographic in the black community, a real black president. It's not going to be somebody in there that just likes shooting basketball. And it's not going to be somebody in there talking about Miss Harris. Somebody should advise her. There ain't going to be somebody talking about, hey, look, let's make greens. Every time you see her. Now you're making greens. Now we're making fried chicken. Now they're in the bathtub. And I'm not dogging. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. She's trying. So yeah, the greens are in the bathtub.
Peyton is confused.
Hold on. Oh, you didn't know she said that? Sister, I really like it. She's like, why they in the bathtub?
I was like, why do you bring that up?
Okay, yeah, it's okay. Miss Harris said she used to cook greens for her friends, and there were so many that she had to cook that she had washed them in a bathtub. Okay. I don't know black people that wash a bathtub. Is a bathtub.
We've made a lot of greens.
It's a bathtub.
I see my grandma make a lot of greens.
Big old camp
It's
meeting.
never been in a bathtub.
I'm going to do our people this much justice. That is not a place to put greens.
No.
That's right. Okay. So it's like she's very much trying to capitalize on things we would do. Okay. But a real, I'm using the word real. Have mercy, your listeners, everybody. A real, somebody that is us. Again, not speaking for everybody, just a demographic. Somebody that's us is going to get in the White House and not just shoot baskets. They might shoot some baskets and work out and do all those other things that are thought to be quote unquote black. No problem. But somebody black, a real black president is going to say, okay, I am black. I'm in the office. What can I do specifically for black people? And I can do that without marginalizing anyone else.
Right.
Because that is not really our culture. If anybody in the world can forgive, black Americans know how to forgive. So I think one of the tests to a lot of people, again, not everyone, but to a large demographic of black people, one of the tests of your blackness, I'm black. No, black card. I'm not talking about black card. I'm talking about the desire for the uplifting of specifically my people when I'm in the position to do so. And I'll stand in front of God and man and Congress and beast and everybody else. And I'll talk about the pride of black people, and I'll try to do something for my people specifically, unashamedly, just like if I was, if it, my family. What'd you do? You just sent your daughter to school and you worked real hard. Be like, sure I did.
Like, and what?
Like, what am I actually supposed to do? I do this for my people. And I think in that sense, we've actually not had a black president. All respect to Mr. Obama, all respect to everybody. But in that particular sense, there's a demographic that would say, yeah, we've not had a black president. Not like that. We don't have a black president like that.
I remember one time we were at your house and you were talking about blackness and what being black is, because us girls were talking about it, whatever. And I remember one time it always stuck out to me. You said, black is knowledge. And I was interested in you explaining how you would define blackness.
Oh, that's good. That's so broad.
That's a huge question. That's a huge question.
It actually is good. No, it's
or like black culture. Even you were talking before. You were talking about things people associate with black culture. So if we were going to make it more specific, right? Like on our podcast, we've talked about. She told a story specifically about how people think black women are loud, bougie, obnoxious, whatever, such and such and the other, and they associate certain things with black people, and that's not truly what black people are. It's just been projected on us and things like that.
That's right. So your question, I think that's very good. Your question is, what would I say blackness is? So blackness is multifaceted, first of all, and you could talk about that question now until the end of time. but not to deflect. I think your question deserves an answer, and I think that one of the things that blackness would be, and again we go back to the distastefulness of someone claiming they're black. That is, I talked about knowledge in my house, but the desire, the willingness, and the heart to understand my state of being, what my image can carry, and choosing to identify my life long with the people that I am a part of. When I say choosing to identify, it starts to get complex, because it's not like I'm going to pick black now or pick black. It's not like that. It's a state of being, and following that state of being through, when it helps me and when it doesn't help me. When I'm looked well upon and when I'm not looked well upon. Again, this is the distastefulness.
For rich or for poor.
Yeah, this is the distastefulness of Miss Harris to a lot of people. So you're black now. Like, some people are like, wonderful, black, well, let's raise money. And other people are like, so you're black now because you're choosing to identify with us now because it's cool. It's going to work for you. You're using our cultural currency. But when you get in, and some people say this, when it was time for you to build your family, you didn't choose black. When it's time for you to get in the office and do something for us, you're not choosing black then. And it's not a matter of I'm attacking you. It's just a state of being. I am black as my state of being. I am black as what I understand. I identify with this group of people who have gone through these things, and that has been my rearing through my entire life. That is who I am. And of course, the black experience is multifaceted. I would not dare say the black experience is one thing. But in all things that it is the identification of the people, the former slaves in America, that have gone through this and through all of the cultural currency that it has built, that we have built up. That's what being black is. In very brief. Like I said, there's a whole you could talk 3 hours about that easily.
So I have another broad question, but I think what you said almost kind of already answered it. Because sometimes we're talking, and we got this term from you, that being black can just mean, or not just mean, but a part of being black is to be willing, ready, and able to join in the struggle. And we've mentioned that before too. And then people say, well, what's the struggle? And it's like, okay, well, that's like that is a broad question. But again, in brief, like, how would you kind of explain that to someone? Like, the struggle.
The struggle? Probably for individuals today, I would just keep the topic like where we are. So Mr. Obama, Miss Harris, political, us, do we have a black president, etc. The struggle is the acknowledgement of who we have been, who we are as a people in the United States, and then the acknowledgement that, number one, we have struggled and it's not over and we're still in the middle of that struggle, and I'm going to do something to reconcile that struggle. Now I'm speaking from the perspective of the political arena. Okay, so what does it mean to be in the struggle? This, again, is one reason why I say that we likely, to some people, have not had a black president. And we wouldn't have one when Miss Harris is elected. It's not just about reparations, although reparations can be broad. It's not just about that, but it's about an acknowledgement of a people and a struggle that we have gone through. What is the struggle? Well, let's go all the way back. We are these people. It has produced this, and we're still struggling today. We're struggling so much today that we're trying to determine who's black. Do you fit inside of this? And then when you fit inside of this, what exactly does that mean? And is there still racism? And if there is still racism, what should we do about it? And should we move along from this? Or what do we move along from? Or how do we move along from it if it's not been properly addressed? So what's the struggle? All of it. Yeah, all of that is the struggle. So there is no struggle. If there was no struggle, there'd be no conversation. If more people would stop talking about it, then we realize, well, how can you stop talking about it if it's present? So the struggle encompasses very many things, but all of those things that I've mentioned are a part of the struggle. And being black, identifying with that and being in a position to address it, you would address it. Like you would unashamedly address it. But if you're for real black, I mean, like I'm saying, you take a chance of not being elected.
Why? Because
you're going to say things that I just said. You're going to say, absolutely. Like, you're just going to be honest. Absolutely. If I'm elected, I'm going to absolutely do something that is only for black people.
Why do people panic about that?
My first days in office, I'm going to do something for my people. You wait and see me. You check me. And I'm not talking about some false idea of what black is. I'm going to have Pookie and them. And first of all, there's nothing wrong with somebody named Pookie. Okay. A nickname is a nickname. But I'm saying this idea of denigration and we're going to be at the White House smoking weed and having... That is not even black. Right. That has nothing to do with black. So there's this idea. Oh,
now it's the dryer.
Is that the dryer?
Now it's the dryer.
Yeah, see?
Now it's the dryer.
No, I'm telling you, leave it in there because nobody's going to believe that we're real without this. So that's good. But you risk not being elected because, and I only say risk, because this is the thinking. If I say I'm going to do something only for black people, now I'm going to trigger people. And now the people are going to say, well, the racism's gone. And where's the racism? And you're going to be another DEI hire and all this. And here's what's going on. And you're going to, where's the money going to come from for all the reparations? And these black people, and somehow we have to get over this. And why you say there's a system. And you risk all this overturn. Back to your question. What is the struggle? That. Okay, so people elect to not be involved in the struggle, but I would like to use the currency to get elected, but without being involved in the struggle aspect. Okay, so I want to use that currency. So you risk doing that. I think it's only a risk because I think some white people would be refreshed.
With that in mind, regarding the presidential candidacy, who do you think would be more beneficial for the black community, Ms. Harris or Mr. Trump?
Who do I think currently is more beneficial for the black community?
Yeah.
Ms. Harris?
Or Mr. Trump?
Or Mr. Trump? Sister Millie asked me a serious question. I think, now this is my opinion, I'm about to get some people mad at me, but I'll get over it. Yeah,
they'll get over it.
I'm going to find a way to get over this. But I think who would benefit black people more is most certainly, unequivocally, I say unashamedly, not even close, nowhere in the same universe, Mr. Trump, by far.
I think you're going to have to say why.
It's not even a conversation. Actually, if we're talking about who's going to benefit the black community more, we shouldn't even bring Ms. Harris's name up. I say that respectfully. I say that respectfully.
Yeah, I agree.
But we shouldn't bring her name up when we're talking, because you're asking specific, okay, Mr. Trump, Ms. Harris. We shouldn't bring her name up. Mr. Trump, absolutely. And you had a question about that? So I answered the question.
You did.
Who do I think is going to benefit more? Mr. Trump.
I just think you're going to have to say why.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I figured you would say him, but I want to hear.
What we really want to know is why.
Okay. I as others internalize things like myself. So I don't know Mr. Trump. I just imagine if I met him, okay? And then I imagine if I met Miss Harris. And I'm talking to them. So this is the only reference point I have. I'm speaking to them on behalf of you. Okay, so we have Real Black Excellence here hustling backward, and you and what y'all want to do and the work you're doing in the community and what we have going on. And I'm speaking to them, and I'm trying my best to get them to understand what the benefit is of what we're doing on Black people specifically, and as an extension, all people. Because we don't discriminate, but unashamedly, I'll do something for Black people. No question. Okay. When I think of that personally, me talking to these candidates, I don't get the sense that Ms. Harris would feel what I'm saying or even agree with what I'm saying. I think she'd be very respectful. I don't get the sense that she would say, yes, yes. Now, what else can we do? Because we have to do something in the urban settings, and you're trying, and I always want something with the community, and here we go. Let's make it easier for you to do what you do. I don't get the sense that she'll do that. I get more the sense that she would try to say things that are speaking points to attempt to get elected. Yeah. But I don't get the sense that there's this genuine, and again, I'll give her the respect to say she cares, for sure, as a human, but I don't get the sense that there's this genuine desire or even knowledge to say, let's make that go. I don't get the sense that she's a leader of men,
for sure,
of a nation. Sure. Not that she, it has nothing to do with her being a woman, because women can lead, most surely. I know y'all been doing this for a while, so people know you're church people, and they know we're church people. You dress like this, you believe that women can preach.
Absolutely.
And I know you believe that because all y'all preachers, okay? So what I'm saying is it's not...
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
She said, Lord have mercy.
Oh, good. So they're going to be in the comments. Y'all preachers? I said, yeah. So y'all going to preach a message. You're going to have to preach a message. But that's not so much what we're talking about. I say that only to say, I'm just highlighting the fact that we don't have a problem with women in leadership or women speaking. It's not a matter of her being a woman. It's simply a matter of, within her, I personally, it's my opinion, I don't get the sense that she would even desire or have the knowledge or the leadership ability to say, let's make that go. Let's fix that. Let's work that out. Now, whereas if I talk to Mr. Trump, and some people say he's a racist.
I was going to mention that. I said, I think people are going to be so triggered as soon as you say anything positive about Mr. Trump, because that's the first thing they associate with him is racism.
I think that's fair. They're allowed to think that. I'll even go so far. First of all, I don't know Mr. Trump.
All right.
But do I think he's a racist? I'm going to answer that by answer my question.
Okay.
This is why I think Mr. Trump would be a better candidate for the Black community. I can only be where I am with me. I feel like if I was talking to Mr. Trump on behalf of you, the work you're doing, not just you, but the work you're doing, the work we're doing, the book, what we're trying to do I can't mention everything because, you got to keep things under wraps. One of the keys to success is don't tell everybody what you're doing and how you're doing it, okay? But I would say some of the initiatives that we have going on, and we're kind of bound by some NDAs and all those things right now. But some of the initiatives that are going on, if Mr. Trump knew them, if he knew what we were going to do in manufacturing, what we're trying to do in terms of employment, if he knew what we were trying to do and what we are currently doing in terms of education and what we're doing in urban settings and our plan and our structure, if he saw that, I am of the opinion today, I'd love to prove it. I
wish you could.
If I saw Mr. Trump, I think
you could.
He'll do watch. He's going to do this. And if he knew 5 minutes, what are you doing? You're doing this. Okay, you got a plan for jobs. You have a plan for manufacturing. You're doing this in education. You're teaching people how to read. You're okay. And what's the organization? All right. I think Mr. Trump would say, let's make that go. Let's get him, get Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike, and go over here and
make
fix
a whole
that,
new edition.
and put money right there. As a matter of fact, I think he's even of the mentality that he would say, "Oh, this is too small. This is good. This is in Indiana, but we need to put this all over the Midwest because we have to bring jobs, American-made jobs, dealing with education in urban settings, African Americans doing it." I think Mr. Trump would be like, "I'm all in." I think he'd actually get up just my opinion. I think he'd actually get up and say, these people, and somebody say he's racist for saying these people. These people are doing great. These are beautiful people.
Black jobs.
They're doing a wonderful thing. America made. I can see him doing it. The American made in America. They're bringing jobs. Okay, you're addressing crime. I believe Mr. Trump would say, it's your world. Work that out. I'm going to throw money behind it, resources. I'm going to give you the people, and I'm going to cut through some of the red tape. That's my opinion. I hope I get a chance to prove it, but it is my opinion, and this is the reason why I would say this general disposition is better for Black people. The general disposition to desire to do something like that is far superior. And even if Ms. Harris had the desire, which I don't believe she has the desire to do that for Black people in that way. And I say all this respectfully. Somebody can get on your podcast and start hammering at people. I don't think we should do that.
Right.
Because after all, she is the VP and she deserves the respect of a VP.
Yeah.
Right.
She is a woman, and men shouldn't just be bashing women of whatever color. And I think she deserves respect and honor. I'm just simply stating my opinion that I don't feel like she even has the capability or the desire to do. I don't think she knows how to do that or lead people in that way. So in terms of Black people, I think he'd be far superior. Not even close, for the reason I mentioned. And we could go on and on about it, but.
So you mentioned Ms. Harris is not a leader of men in that way, but you would say Mr. Trump definitely is.
No question. No question. Now, a lot of people, somebody gonna be triggered by that.
Absolutely.
There's triggers everywhere. There's been 1,000 drive-bys since we started talking.
Since we started, just
But I think people mistake. I'm gonna say something because we can cut it out, but not because I'm scared. But I'm gonna say it.
Oh,
I'm not scared.
Go ahead.
I don't think Mr. Trump is a racist.
Okay.
But if he was a racist, I wouldn't even care.
We see what helps.
I was born in 1970. I've been in America. I've seen so many racist white people that respectfully, if he was a racist white man, he would be one of the thousands upon thousands upon thousands that I've seen. I don't care if he's racist. What I care about is he the kind of racist that's going to come and destroy my community?
Or is he going to help us out?
Or is he going to look on and say, oh, no, that's a good idea? I tend to think, number one, he's not a racist. But my point in saying that is not, I'm just not trying to spark somebody. You don't care if he's a racist? No. Why would I care? I can't control somebody's a racist. What am I going to do? Walk up, am I going to start an internet campaign about how Mr. Trump should change his mind about, he's 80 years old nearly. You think he's going to change his mind?
No.
You're not 80 and you're not changing yours. Okay?
For real.
So what I'm saying is whatever he is what he is what he is. I happen to believe he's not a racist. I think he's a little brash, but he's straight from New York, a businessman.
Survive somehow.
Yeah, he's a businessman. He's straight from New York. I wouldn't say things like that. Like, I wouldn't say it, but I'm not Mr. Trump. I wouldn't say it like that. I think he can say what he wants, how he wants. He's an American. At the end of the day, I think he would absolutely care for somebody that's doing, I'm going to say one more thing, somebody that's doing something in the African-American community, and I think he absolutely would support what we're doing in every way. I think he absolutely would. If he knew what real Black excellence meant and why we have the real in front of Black excellence, no problem. If he could have fight, be like, oh, that's good. Yeah, we're going to go with that. And I think that's extremely important. So in my opinion, it wouldn't matter if he's a racist, if he's not a racist.
As long as he don't do something.
Okay. I just don't think he is. And I don't care if he's a racist to highlight. We focus on the wrong thing. If he's a racist, I can't stop him from being a racist. I don't think he is. No problem. You think he is. If he is, we can't stop him. So which racist is going to help the Black community more? Because I'm not running for president. If I was, somebody wouldn't vote for me because they call me a racist for what I did. He's a racist. Racism in reverse. Okay, everybody has their own little thing. So all I'm saying is we have to, as Black people, in my opinion, I'm looking on and I'm saying, what's going to be the best for the Black community? Who will put money in my people's pocket? Who will listen? If I was a presidential candidate, I wouldn't tell everybody what I'm going to do. I'd walk into a room and say, what do y'all have? What are y'all doing? Are there some leaders in the Black community? Are there some people in the Black community that actually have a plan? to give their people jobs? Do you have a plan about stopping crime and drugs in your community? Or are you just leaning on me to get everything? I'll support what you do if you have a plan. This is why I think Mr. Trump's not a racist. I think he say, hey, look, I like your plan. I didn't even have that plan. But I'm going to adopt it because I'm going to bring all this stuff together. I think he would. He's a businessman. Look,
Yeah,
that's a good
that's for
business
sure.
move. Let's work it out. That's why I think he's far better. Anyway.
I think that made sense.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be triggered, but that made sense. I think people are also going to try to say, based off of what you just said, that we're Republican, but if they listen to it with an open mind, they can see that we're not.
Sure.
It's
Well, why do you think they think we're Republican because of that?
simply because of I think people back to trigger words. You said you personally don't feel like Mr. Trump is a racist.
No, not at all.
And you also said you personally feel like he would be better for the black community. So I think people are just going to make that assumption. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
If they would think it
And
through.
they also lean like their default category to put us in would maybe be Republican.
Maybe Republican anyway, just because of how we dress.
Oh, so I would have Republicans dress
Conservative.
Yeah, like
But
conservative,
some conservative people that would tend to be.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that would tend to be Republican.
So some people think we're Republican. Okay. So somebody may be thinking that right now, you're saying.
I feel like they
Yeah.
could.
think
No
so.
problem. So let's talk to them people that think that right now. Would they be thinking that based on an assumption?
No,
Because we didn't say that, right?
we never said
No,
that. They
I
would
think it's just
definitely be
based
an
on
assumption.
polarizing terms that we've been trained to think in. Like if you say Trump,
Okay.
then you must associate with this, and then you believe boom, 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 this, that, and the other, and just everything strings together.
Okay, so you're saying that people would be unjust to us in this conversation. No, don't let me put words in your mouth. But you say people would be unjust to us and just say, okay, I'm going to put you in the Republican basket, as if the Republican basket and the Democrat basket are the only two baskets.
Yeah,
Right. As if there's only two places you can go
Two
and
places
you're
you
one
can
or the
go.
other.
Okay, so if I told them at that time, if I said, I heard somebody say this doesn't belong to me. I'll say something that does more belong to me, but this doesn't. That Republicans and Democrats are not in opposition to each other. They are both one way. They're both like a one-way road, just two lanes on a one-way road. Like they're not in opposition. I like to say it like this. I said in my book like this: left wing, right wing is the same bird. Now, other people have said that. I said it some years ago before I heard anybody say it, but that doesn't mean it's mine. I'm not claiming it. I'm only claiming I didn't hear anybody say that before I said it. And it doesn't have to be mine. It's just, I think people have a mistake about what Republican is, what Democrat is. And if they look at Mr. Trump, he doesn't absolutely keep every Republican idea that has ever been. And he's not endorsed absolutely by only Republican candidates.
Right.
And if you look at Ms. Harris, she is not absolutely what a Democrat would be in the deepest, truest, traditional sense.
Purest form.
And so what I'm saying is people can put us in a box or what have you, and I think it's their right to. But we're talking, our conversation has not even been about Republican or Democrat.
No.
Our conversation has been, who do you think is the best for the black community? And if I thought it was Ms. Harris, I would say Ms. Harris.
And it wouldn't really have to do with the party she
It
affiliates.
has nothing to do with the party. Has nothing to do with that. What y'all talking about? I want to know what.
Camille has a question, but she wants to.
Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking about reparations.
Oh.
And I was thinking, like, I wonder what Mr. Trump thinks about that.
I can't say what Mr. Trump thinks about it. My sense is that Mr. Trump would do all he can for the black community. I also have the sense that I don't know that he would call it reparations or even support reparations, although this is just my best guess in respect to him. The fact of the matter is, I don't know. I don't know what he would do. I know that generally speaking, the Republican platform, they're not going to be reparations.
They're not going to support that.
You work for what you get.
Generally speaking. And generally speaking, the Republican platform, and I'm speaking very generally, there are all kinds of people, generally speaking, the Republican platform would not even go along with the idea of racism or this is a racist structure. They would look at that, generally speaking, as an insult on America and on American ideas, and they wouldn't, like, they're not going to get with that. Democrats would try, generally speaking, Democrats would try to capitalize on that. I've sat in meetings with Democrats and tried my best not to laugh while they emphasized and highlighted things that seemed, that I guess they thought would poke and prod me and make me love them or what have you. Like, we know there's systemic racism, and and I'm
looking
like,
at you
Look at
like,
the Steve, like, look up at the Steph,
and I'm
like,
just like,
What even know?
systemic racism. Yeah, yes, there is. And we know that, I just don't think that they understand. I don't think they understand. But reparations, you were going to say something.
I was just remembering the other day that you had said there was only one thing that you thought was a danger to Mr. Trump being president. And you said you thought that would be perhaps a conversation that people, or I don't remember exactly what you said, so correct me.
What you're talking about now.
Like you said that he would maybe ascribe to the narrative that if we stop talking about racism, it won't be there anymore. And that black people would tend to like that about what Trump is saying, like, hey, let's just forget about it and then it won't be there.
I'm not black people, but
no.
there's a demographic.
That would be like that. And that the danger is that Mr. Trump would promote that agenda and ascribe to it.
Well, yes. So I think the danger of some that would support Mr. Trump is they would support him by casting away things that are natively in our community known to be. This is why certain people get called sellouts or Uncle Toms. And then when you start calling somebody Uncle Tom, then depending on how educated you are, you can get real bougie educated and be like, well, you haven't read Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was a very, very nice man. And, and what he did was he was a Christian. If you read it, put something in a book and black people won't read it. Uncle Tom was great. And here you are. Okay, so what I'm saying is, like, you start getting this demographic when really they don't understand the reason why, for example, Malcolm X would call people Uncle Toms. In the book Uncle Tom, we're not saying he wasn't a nice man.
Right. Yeah.
We're not saying Uncle Tom wasn't a Christian.
Right. Yeah.
We're not saying he didn't do something good.
Right.
The reason why Malcolm X used it, historically speaking, for the black community is because Uncle Tom refused to leave the plantation. He absolutely refused. Now, whether he's a good Christian, he actually stayed there and allowed himself to be slaughtered.
Right.
He wouldn't fight and he wouldn't leave. And he did that in the name of God. And when somebody's referring to somebody as Uncle Tom, it's not a matter of, Uncle Tom was a great character. I feel like saying, brother, don't say that. Not because he wasn't great, but like you're attacking the black community.
Yeah.
Like you're attacking something really antagonistically, when really we're not saying that. When somebody says that, we're saying there's an aspect of leaving the slave mentality and slave plantation that Uncle Tom would not partake in. And in that sense, that is not good, whether he was a Christian or not. I'm not saying he was a bad man. For him to not leave the slave plantation, for him to not run away or not fight back, that is an Uncle Tom. And in that sense, there's a negative connotation. And it has nothing to do with anybody who didn't read the book or not. You had to at least read the book to understand what I'm saying. You had to have some understanding of who he was to even use the terminology. And so, and I'm not attacking people that would feel that way, but one of the dangers of quote unquote Republican Blacksit, the black exit. One of the dangers of talking bad about the Democratic Party. So I just said Mr. Trump would be far better than Miss Harris. So that means to some people Republicans are better. And I'm saying, no, we can't attack the Democrats like that. Democrats are all right. They'd be like, well, why are you going back and forth? Why? No, it's not like that. One of the dangers of Mr. Trump is that the tendency of black people in this particular respect that would support him would say, okay, let's leave the Democrat plantation and then let's go over to the Republican. But they wouldn't say plantation. But they wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
They would hold the
sense.
Republican Party as not the plantation at all. When really there's a demographic of black people that would say that is an Uncle Tom move. And then the people that are coming over here, they would look and they would say, that's not Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was a good man. And they don't know that they're saying, no, you went from that plantation to that plantation and you are refusing to leave the whole structure. So again, the danger is that black people lose what is, in my opinion, native to our culture, our people, and that is the understanding that there is a system of racism. We always have known this. Actually, that's where the first great art, the spirituals, come from, because of this oppressive system, this oppressive regime. And then from there, all the influence that now equates to a cultural superpower. Okay, that understanding comes from there. But the danger in the Brexit or Republican, you can now say things or divorce yourself from things that are actually natively black, things that we naturally, intrinsically know through the experience of being black. We know there is systemic racism. Then somebody comes and says, well, show me one example. I'd be like, nah. Not because you can't. No, because you're asking the question. You're asking a question in a way that is actually not honest.
You don't really
show me
want to
one
believe
example.
it.
Show me one example. It's like saying, prove to me that there's a couch that you're sitting on. Okay. What are you talking? What are you talking
Are we really
about?
gonna sit here and tell you?
Yeah, so I can show you something. You'd be like, well, look at the pillow. And then I'll say, just because a pillow is there doesn't mean that there's a couch.
And there's a pillow on my bed
And that's all they want to do. So you get involved in these semantics. Prove systemic racism. Well, police brutality. And then they're waiting for that. Like their mouth been, they're just salivating. Well, actually more black people. And they're like slapping you. And they don't know, like, hey, brother, you done turned into a slave master. Like they got to win. Don't you ever say that, and they have turned, they've turned, which is an indication of the system that they say doesn't exist, which divides us against one another. So the danger of leaning on the Republican as if it is the rescue of all things is, or the answer of all things is, I will be at some point compelled to forfeit my knowledge of who I am and my experience and the things that are just known in my community. I will be forced to say there is no such thing as systemic racism.
If you ascribe totally to that.
I will be at some point. I will be forced to say absolutely not. There shouldn't be any reparations. I will be forced to say things that are intrinsically a part of the culture, but I'll have to divorce myself from that to be a part of the culture of whatever. And then it's misnamed. It's called woke culture. It's called this and that. And it's not really that. It's black. Is it woke culture? No, I'm black. What are you? I am black. I'm a black American. You could call it whatever you want to call it. But these kinds of things are a danger. And I think that's one thing that I would not appreciate about that kind of sentiment. I wouldn't appreciate somebody asking me to forfeit what I know is exactly true and has been true from my father's life and my grandfather's life and my life, and things that have produced this great wealth of individuals, this great people. And all of a sudden now I'm going to say, well, there's no such thing as racism. That's one reason why some black people don't like people like Candace Owens, although all respect to her. I like Candace Owens. I think
extremely intelligent.
She's super intelligent, that's for sure.
I like Candace Owens. She's intelligent, depending on what you're talking about.
I just heard she got suspended from YouTube for
she's intelligent, depending on what you're talking about.
She's bold.
And just like everybody else. But I actually like Candace Owens, but see, some people find her distasteful because of the forfeiture of the knowledge that is most surely in the black community. And then she's on Mr. Shapiro's show, and then all of a sudden she gets let go of Mr. Shapiro's show, and now she needs black people. Again, like she needs us badly.
Yeah.
Now, why are you talking bad about Candace Owens? I would not talk bad about Candace Owens. I would love to meet her. I actually think she would be a far better president than Miss Harris. Today, right now. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion,
sure.
But it's not a matter of me attacking her. I think that's ridiculous, and I think that's one of the tricks of the system. to get us to fight and squabble. And now I'm on here. He said something bad about Candace Owens, and then did you hear what Ronnie said? And when we were growing up, hey, he's looking. Ray's looking for you. Well, you tell him I said, and we go back and forth, and now we're fighting and we're not resolving anything. And so I think that's a mistake. But there is a forfeiture that I personally won't. Like, I'm not going to forfeit my blackness, not in the way they think about. I'm not going to forfeit the beautiful things that have created this superpower.
Mm-hmm. I have a question that might be a little bit touchy, but within the church, do you think that there has been opportunity to express yourself without being a sellout or Uncle Tom?
Forfeiting
within the church. Are you saying the church generally, like the broad church world?
Well, first, yes, but then
more specifically where we've grown up.
To express yourself without being Uncle Tom, I think there probably has been some. I need to say something else about Uncle Tom. I think sometimes black people, black leaders have called people Uncle Toms, and I would say including El Haj Malik El Shabazz, Brother Malcolm, have called black people Uncle Toms. And it's not true that they were Uncle Toms. And the fact of the matter is they were mistaken, and he shouldn't have said that. Now, I love Brother Malcolm, but I think when he called some brothers Uncle Toms, I think he called Dr. King Uncle Tom at one point. Yeah. And I would say he was absolutely mistaken. I don't think Dr. King was an Uncle Tom. I think Dr. King was doing the best that he knew how. And again, it's the system that causes us to divide against one another. And so he's an Uncle Tom. I'm not Uncle Tom. Well, you should read the book. You shouldn't read the book. And that's not even the point. So I think an indication of the system, because people always want to know, give me proof of the system. That we have to have this podcast, and we're talking about this as full evidence that there's a system in place that is totally relevant, and we're going around in circles, and there's all this different nuanceical dichotomy of thought processes, So you have all this, and I think that's evidence that there's something in place where people can't agree that keeps people divided. But has the church provided an opportunity? I would think some. Especially back in the day, some black churches have done actually well. I would have to admit. I'm not saying that they did everything right. I'm not saying that there weren't some people there that needed extra help and extra saving grace and extra prayer. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying as a unit, the black church. First of all, we had to have the black church because they didn't let us in with the white people. But the black church has, in the past, been a beacon of light. Refuge. Am I taking too long?
Not at all.
A beacon of light and refuge and help and hope. It was a community center. It was a gathering place. It was where you went to cry. And really, back in the day when we went to church, we were really going to church. When I went to church, I really needed God to help me back then. And there have always been atheists. Actually, a prominent civil rights personality, James Baldwin, was an atheist. But that's only because he was hurt by the church. That's my opinion. So there were atheists back then, but back then we had to, somebody say, you believe in God? That is the most ridiculous thing. Be like, hey, all I know is there better be a God because my mom was killed and so-and-so's raped and we're down in this oppression and there has to be a God.
Right.
And I went to church instead of therapy. Now, I'm not saying therapy is not needed. Mental health is a very real issue. So I want to make that clear. I, of all people, would be very familiar with the need for someone to have mental health just with my own background. And I'm not going to elaborate. I'm going to let somebody think about that. Were you a mental health patient?
Go ahead and think about it.
Whatever. Go ahead and think about it. But I'm saying I know firsthand, not make believe, firsthand, day by day, year by year, I understand that mental health is a real thing. However, there was some power in the black church because Jesus, if you believe in the Bible, they would say, Jesus is the counselor. I need some counsel. And I'm going, where you going? I'm going to church. I need some counsel. I just need somebody to tell me everything's going to be all right.
Yes, sir.
And I need to believe in God. It's a fabrication. Let it be a fabrication.
Yes, Lord. Just let me believe it.
Let it be a fabrication. Because at the end of the day, at the end of my belief, this quote unquote fabrication has produced a peace and a comfort in me that don't try to take it away. Just let me be deceived. That's better than drugs.
At some point.
Some people get high to just relax. But hey, I went to church and God helped me and gave me hope, and I was hurt. So there's a sense where black church has done good, has done well, in that regard. I think sometimes black churches have tried to help people know what to do with their finances, have been instrumental in building up businesses, especially in the past. So there's been some sense where, in answer to your question, some sense where the church has been able to be used to help and not be, quote unquote, Uncle Tom and struggle and fight for freedom. That's really what the civil rights movement was about. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a part of the church, so certainly that's been there. But I would say that we are in a time now where the church, if it's going to be the church, would have to help the people to understand what the Bible says about these current day issues and help people understand what does the Bible say about the black-white issue and the reconciliation of all issues. And that has not really been the case because church has not really allowed a full measure of that. Am I answering your question?
Yes, sir.
It's not really allowed a full measure of that. And we can kind of flip on over to the church side if you want, like we're all church people.
Yeah, we are.
But
And I feel like, Brother Steph, that the church has had a tendency, and I wouldn't say everybody in the church, but a portion, maybe a large portion, has had a tendency to look at, back to politics, look at the two sides, and though recognizing that there's wrong things on both sides, would tend to say, would tend to still ascribe in some measure to the Republican narrative under the influence of the thought that at least this is somewhat better.
Yes, at least somewhat better. And then there'd be quite the opposite, too. There'd be some that would tend to subscribe to the Democratic side because that's just what we've always done in the past, et cetera, et cetera. It seems to me that if there is a God, and I don't say that as though I doubt it, if there is a God, and if the Bible is true, again, not saying that I doubt it, that there would be some reconciliation for all these issues located in the Bible itself, and that would be the duty of the church to bring out that reconciliation. What does the Bible say about these things? And that, I believe, is where the church has really failed right now.
It's easier to just pick a side in a lot of ways. I'm just going to associate with this.
Yes. And one thing too, I think our people don't know is we have to go to the last location where our people were having success and then springboard from there. So I think people have all kinds of ideas. Everybody didn't like Dr. King, but I mentioned in my book, that Dr. King and Malcolm X were actually turning into one voice before they were assassinated. Assassinated before 40 years old.
Both of them.
So they would have been an outstanding team, which in my opinion is why they were assassinated. And someone can say, well, one crazed individual. No, I feel like a system assassinated them, or system is the cause of the assassination, though it would have been individuals that would have done that. But we have to go to the last place where the people had success. And the last place where black people had success is absolutely shocking. And that is, like if we go back to Dr. King, that is, hold on, America needs to repent. America needs to be born again. America is wicked. That is actually shocking that Dr. King would think that. Or we've gotten integration, but we've integrated into a burning house. Okay. So Dr. King, okay, we're going to Washington, but when we go to Washington, we're going there to get our check. Or Dr. King, the last place where he was. Okay, so you give all these things to white immigrants, but you don't give my people anything. This is Dr. King. It's the last place where he is. And I think that is the job of, if there is going to be a church, I think it's the job of the church to pick up prophetically, because they're church people. If somebody doesn't know what you're talking about, it's like, hey, no problem. You church people. You believe in the Bible. You believe in prophecy. So if you're going to pick up, you have to go right back prophetically and say, okay, this is where Dr. King was. And where he was this. It's going to take billions and billions of dollars to straighten out this mess that black people, this mess called black people, that has never been straightened out. The Republican Party would like us to believe that somehow through legislation, I'm speaking generally, not everybody, somehow through legislation, these things no longer exist. These problems no longer exist. We need to move on. There's no system. There's no systemic racism. We need to move on. Black people in our history know, wait a minute, back there, the last time we were listening to black leaders, because right now we're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's for sure.
And there's a reason we're not.
Right.
There's a reason I'm not listening. The last time, and everybody didn't listen to Dr. King and everybody didn't listen to Malcolm X, but listen to them or not, they were universally recognized as these are black leaders.
Yes.
Okay. So the last time we listened to black leaders, he was saying that there needed to be some reconciliation for the black community based in money,
Right.
based in an exchange of wealth, based in a recognition of what was done, and then he was assassinated. So that's really where we need to pick up. And what one party would like us to do is like us to forget that, not even be reminded that. They don't teach it in school. Forget that Dr. King was right there. Forget that Malcolm X was right there. Forget that they were coming together with this common understanding of what it was to defend black people and what it was to resolve this problem. Forget that and just say that it's resolved, when really the church should go back and say right there, and then the Bible illuminates what that is and preach that to the people. And that is where we are today. That's the place where we are. And that is difficult. Has that ever been done on a large scale? Absolutely not.
That's actually so tragic. Peyton was just like, whispering it to me. That we don't really have anybody in the world right now that would be recognized as like a black leader. I mean, we have all kinds of black athletes and actors and even, doctors, scientists, but just a black leader.
That's just going to leave.
Like it's not
Yes,
there.
and part of our leadership as a community, as black people, has always been a man or a woman of faith, generally speaking. Now, you do have James Baldwin, who claimed to be an atheist, but even his background was church background.
Right.
Okay. So I think it's important for the community itself, just for the history, to know, historically speaking in this country, black people address this issue from this place. We know the Bible addresses this issue, and we know it historically.
I just think that would be maybe the reason why black people would look on and even look at us and be like, but are they really dealing with this issue? And church would be distasteful to certain people looking out because they're like, nah.
Sure.
Yeah. You
Especially the demographic that say, that Christianity is a white man's religion. Christianity has oppressed us down through the history. Why would... And obviously that's not true Christianity, just like Frederick Douglass says. That's Frederick Douglass, right? This is... He hates the woman whipping.
Cradle plunder.
So you're saying, say what you said again, you're saying that people would look at us as church people.
Yeah.
And definitely you, me too, but definitely they look at, okay, I look at how you dress.
Right, they're looking at our clothes. They're like, oh, I know what y'all are probably Amish, y'all probably some Mennonites that are so ignorant. You're in a cult, but you don't believe nothing.
People think we're in a cult.
Yeah.
All kinds of people.
Most of the people who stayed aren't like that, right?
Who said we're in a cult? Nobody thinks we're in a cult.
How people be.
I do. Okay, so what's the answer? So people look on it, so they don't think we'd be addressing these issues at all.
Yeah, for sure. And I think maybe in the past they could have been right. Maybe
because I don't think conservative church has.
Well, conservative church can't. Actually,
say it.
Please go ahead.
No, that's all I want you to go ahead. Because that's all I was going to say. I'm saying people look at us, they assume we're a conservative church, and they say, oh,
and that we're a part of a race, we have to be a part of a racist entity.
Oh, but you know what? Now I'm going to say something that sounds strange. Generally speaking, they would be accurate. Conservative religion is, generally speaking, racist in its very nature. So I say that as a Christian, I say that as a preacher, I say that as an apostle, and we're not here just talking about church stuff. We're talking about everything. I'm just talking to y'all, but we just happen to be on this now. And I would say, generally speaking, they would be right to think that conservative religion is the white man's religion. It's the white man's way to oppress black people. I would say that's accurate. What I wouldn't say is that is Christianity.
Right.
So I think that is the key difference. But I have to give them enough respect to say, absolutely, what has been promoted as Christianity is, in fact, racist. I would say that.
And I think
That's
it would...
on purpose, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it would give us more legitimacy to not act like we've escaped all of the claws of white supremacy and sit out here and be like, no, you can't tell us that any racist thing has ever affected us. We are free and liberated 100%. Like, that's illegitimate of us to say because we've most certainly been affected by it as well.
Like, conservative religion is not racist. Are we conservative religion? Or have we be... I'm sorry, conservative religion is racist. Are we conservative religion, or have we been affected by conservative religion?
We would be thought of as conservative religion just up on sight.
Right.
Just in fairness to anybody, that's obvious. So somebody would look and say, oh, you're a conservative. They'd look at me and think that, and they'd look at you and be like, oh, yeah.
Sure.
Really, y'all. I mean, at least he got a Kango on. But y'all, really? Okay. So definitely, up on sight, they wouldn't be incorrect. The connotation, the thought process, the pattern of thought would be, yes, they're conservative people. So I don't just have a problem with that. It's not how I would describe us, but I don't have a problem with that because they don't mean bad. They mean, okay, the women are only wearing dresses. The dresses are very long. They're not wearing, not wearing loud colors. So that's all they mean by that. These are obviously some religious people of some sort, and that's why some people would say Amish. But you know what? Only people that don't know anything about Amish would think that we're Amish.
Sure.
Very true.
Because we don't actually look Amish.
We don't.
We look what people think conservative, but we don't look Amish, number one. Number two, I don't know any black people that are Amish.
I don't know any.
Now, there might be somebody that adopted some, there might be someone that adopted some children.
People always want to bring that up like they got a good point.
What is it?
People always try to bring that up like they got a good point.
Like what?
I saw an adopted one. Because we're like, there is no such thing as
well,
black
they might have adopted, but I can't really recall that. I think there are all kinds of religious circles. Mennonites have gone to Africa, gone there, married, intermarried, and you might see somebody conservative and think Amish or what have you. Anyway, this is not about Amish. Somebody looks at us and they think conservative. That's not totally without justification. We wouldn't call ourselves conservative because we know that conservative religion is racist. It is racist. It is white supremacist religion. Under the guise of the Bible, which is the same thing that happened, we know this historically, same thing that happened to us back in the day, using the Bible to keep us in slavery. And this is what people are referring to outside when they say that's white man's religion. Now, they're totally mistaken that Christianity is white man's religion, but they're not mistaken that conservative Protestantism is white man's religion. It absolutely is white man's religion, which is a part of the problem. Now, should we keep talking about this? Because we're going to get into a whole lot of stuff. What time?
I don't want to keep you too late.
No, I'm good. Y'all the ones who got to work. What should we do, Sister Abernathy? Okay, she's not helping us at all. What time is it?
We're not in a rush. It's almost 8.
8:75.
What time do y'all usually stop?
Whenever we feel like.
No, tell me what time you usually stop.
For real?
I done went too long already.
Actually,
Tell
that's
me.
what I feel like.
Sister, what time?
Doesn't matter.
It just depends on. It just depends on the guest.
Brother Benyon, you get a workout, brother. Right now, you looking like somebody's dad. that brother.
That is a total dad outfit.
That brother is looking so dad-like at this point. That's good though. Oh, there's old Ezra Nehemiah Esther. How you doing, bro?
I love that Esther's part of it.
Me too.
Nehemiah Esther.
I
shouldn't leave you, Esther. I should
say that because
I should bring him back with the Job.
Side.
I should bring him back with the Job.
You can leave it at Esther.
That's the Job. We could talk a little bit more, like about just with the things with conservative religion. I think it's important to know. First of all, you can just start making broad statements. Okay, conservative religion is white supremacist. Somebody says, "Oh, come on." Okay. I think it's because back to your question, have we ever been able to say anything where we can just tell the truth and not really be Uncle Tom's and tell like it is and address this issue? I think we have not been able to really. When I say we, the world generally, you can't address this issue from a conservative platform. But the thing is, neither can you address it from a Pan-African platform or some
Dr.
kind.
Umar.
Yeah, Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar's brilliant.
He is.
That's
He
that's a brilliant brother. He's brilliant, and I hope to meet him one day. But you can't address it from where he's coming from, because he leaves out everybody. Like, but his points about religion are totally valid. And I just don't think he's come to the correct conclusions, in my opinion. But brilliant brother, respect him, no problem. I just think that the Bible, from our history, when I say our history, Black people's history, we know that there's a God. We know that the answers are in the Bible. We know that God addresses this. The reason why we say conservatism is white, again, is because it's the same kind of religion that was used to keep us in slavery. Okay, servants obey your masters, and then we have to believe that God somehow wants us to be subjugated, and we can't really speak out. Back to Sister Camille's question, we can't really speak out about this issue, and we can't really preach about it, and we have to kind of, if you're going to be a Christian, you kind of have to be an Uncle Tom. I tend to think of myself as more. I'm definitely not Malcolm X, but I think of myself as more personality-wise like him, like he would be. Okay.
Definitely very militant.
And so I'm not the kind of person that'll just not say. I'm not the kind of person that'll not say. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of the rudiments of what has been called Christianity are white supremacist and racist. It would cause you to have to forfeit things that would be natively a part of African American culture, and especially I'm talking about in conservatism. So, with that being said, we also would believe that the Bible would account for the story of how this came into being.
Right.
And so that is kind of what we do in the church, just from our own church. If we're talking about church, what we do is we account for that prophetically speaking, biblically speaking, to show that these are in fact systems of white supremacy. People start looking for, where is white supremacy at? Where is it? Oh, it's in the church. Like the system of how church works is white supremacist.
Right.
Okay. And well, what about the Black church? Well, somebody Black can be influenced by white supremacy too, but the need of a Black church is evidence that there is a system in place of white supremacy.
True.
And I think it's hard for church to just kind of admit that.
Well, they're
because
not going to admit
then
it.
they feel like they're somehow indicted, or I don't know.
Some of them might be indicted, and some of them need indicted, because to be honest,
It's true.
there have been a lot of good people, and I wouldn't say they're not Christians, but there have been a lot of good people that are affected by racism and by the system, and they don't want to hear about their racist behavior. They would like to think of themselves as loving Jesus, and I love everybody, and I never had a problem with Black people, and I don't know what you're talking about, and don't bring this up. And they would like to think.
People are so triggered every time.
What is it?
Just that people are so triggered every time it comes up.
They would like to think of themselves as, hey, the blood of Jesus, I just love everybody. The blood of Jesus cleanses everybody from their sin.
I don't see color, they say.
I don't see color, or when I see color, I love it. I love it so much to start making colored people uncomfortable.
Literally.
It'd be stressful.
But I think at some point, and it doesn't have to necessarily be now, but at some point, I'd like to talk about personal things, not in the church broadly. I'd like to talk about personal things in the church that we are in.
That would actually be so interesting.
So we'll do that sometime, when we haven't been here for 2 hours. Or however
2 hours.
How long we've been here. I'm happy, like I keep talking about this, I'm having mercy on y'all.
Well, we're enjoying ourselves.
And y'all make gumbo?
We make gumbo. There's cornbread, there's some rice.
Ezra. Look, he can't hear. What's wrong with the boy? Look, he just smiled. Hey, brother, I see you with the pick in the head. You want to come in? No? Okay. That's all right. We'll talk later.
No, please eat gumbo though.
Oh, I'll eat some. So I don't know if this has done any good.
I've been learning. I've been soaking it in.
If we can sometime come back, we definitely need to talk about the church. And I wish I could talk about my book sometime, but I don't know when that could be.
We could do one just for your book.
Yeah,
And just for the church, if we want.
yeah. I think the church thing is gonna have to be by itself. Hey, we're here today. We're gonna talk about the church you're in, the church we are in.
Listen to the church we're in. I think people would find that interesting.
I think so.
So let's do a plug because we're not going to do it now.
Plug.
Next time we come back, we're going to talk about the church we're in. What's the name of our church? Why we're in it? What we believe? And is there any racism in it? How did we come to this church?
Interesting episode.
For sure.
Nobody will care.
Yes, they will. They're going to want to hear about it.
Yeah,
Everybody want to know how you came to this church for sure.
For sure.
And how you stayed in it.
No.
And how you stayed in it.
After they hear what?
After they hear this episode, they're going to be like, where did he come from?
Oh. No, they won't. Look. Sister Ansom's like, yes, they will. Yes, they will. They're going to say, where did he come from? I saw it. All right. So, no, I'm not that strange.
No, not that you're strange.
Am I? Not that strange.
You're just militant, and I think Christianity has forsaken its militancy that it once.
Yes.
So it seems more
that
extraordinary.
It really goes back to that question. Can you do that? Can a preacher just get up and do something and not be an Uncle Tom? Can we just tell it like it is?
Could that be a possibility?
And oftentimes it's
In a
not.
white church?
In a white church? Well, I'm going to say, I'm in the white church. The answer is absolutely no. You just have to do it. The answer is, can you get up and say that? The answer is no. You can't say it. You can't say it unless you just say it. But all society is kind of preaching against you. I'll say this. We can stop right here. This would be a good place to stop and just put this on here and say, we coming back. Yeah, next time. You know how they do that on the next episode. You know how they do all that stuff. Okay, but this would be a good place right here to talk about. One thing, when I wrote my book, and it's not just about my book, you're just trying to sell your book. I hope I sell 1 million copies, but that's not what it is. Okay, I'm just saying, one of the revelations I had, I've been teaching Hustle Backward class at our school, and I've been telling Brother Randy, I said, hey, brother, the more I teach this, are you sure you want me to teach this? Because I have to say the whole surrounding circumstance of what happened, like what I was thinking. And so I told the students, I said, what I'm going to say it hurt me. Now, that's going to sound old weak. Militant brother, it actually hurt me. What really hurt me, I mean, all the way down to the low brown gravy, like all the way down. I'm saying all the way down to like my soul. I'm being serious. What?
No, I'm sorry.
Y'all never heard me
say? I'm sorry.
Oh,
that was not the point to.
That might be a Xenia thing. We know how to edit stuff. That might be a Xenia thing.
Got me off.
No, we grew up saying that.
Down to the brown gravy.
You know how you make gravy? Like you got like it's the lowest common denominator. Lowest common denominator. What? It don't look like nothing's in there. Stir it. Stir it. You know, there's little pieces. Stir that. That's all it means. But it might be a Xenia thing. Cut that out because I don't want nobody thinking I'm unserious. No, I don't want anybody thinking I'm unserious about such a serious topic.
No, yeah.
But what really, and I say in all seriousness, what really brought me down, like shockingly down, like mouth hanging open, like, is when it took a revelation. When I had a revelation, these are good places. When I had a revelation, what really hurt me, when I had a revelation that the individuals that I have been with, the church that I'm involved with, to all outward appearances of people where I come from, to all outward appearances, looking from the outside, through what happened, through me writing the book, through these things that were happening to me, I was almost able to take myself and be on the outside again. I think I do that well anyway, but this was extreme. So be on the outside and look in, and to all intents and purposes, from where I come from, looking on, I would say it was a revelation to me to say, this is a racist organization to all intents and purposes from the outside looking in. That was a revelation to me, and that hurt me. Say, oh, don't play this for the saints. I want the saints to hear that. I want the people, because I don't think they know that. These sisters have already heard that. I don't think they know that. I actually want them to hear that where I come from for all intents and purposes. I'm talking about the organization. Now, you always have some. I'm talking about the organization. Looking on from where I come from what I know, from who I am, and what I know of the people of my background, looking on very clearly, you are part of a racist organization. And that's why there's no black people there. And that's why there's no strong black men being raised up. Because where you are, you're not allowed to be black like that. It's a racist organization. That was a revelation to me that I had to just say, now that is actually true, which made me write that book.
That's heavy. That's a serious note to end on. We're definitely going to have to go back and talk about it. That is.
But leave that. Put that up there and let it ride. Somebody be like, well, what else did he say?
That could be
the Saints be like, what'd he say? No, he ain't lying. He didn't say nothing else. He just said, for all intents and purposes, it was a racist organization.
Yeah,
but I will say, that's a good place to leave it. But I will say, I never believed that it was. No, that's true. But I think it would have taken somebody like me to have that kind of belief. I don't think anybody else.
100%.
I don't think anybody else. I don't think anybody could have looked on and experienced this, and thought, "Oh no, it's not a racist organization." I knew it wasn't a racist organization because that song we sing. We have a church song, y'all. Wherever the camera is,
we sing hymns and things.
Yeah, we sing hymns. So we have a church song. How sweet this bond of perfectness, the wondrous love of Jesus, a pure foretaste of heaven's bliss, oh fellowship so precious. And then there's the chorus part. Oh brethren, how this perfect love unites us all in Jesus. One heart, one soul, one mind. We prove the union heaven gave us. Okay. Brother Warner wrote that regarding black and white relationships. I knew that I was one heart, one mind, one soul with brothers that were white, brothers and sisters that were white. So I knew they weren't racist. I knew that. But the revelation was nobody could possibly know that looking on from the outside. That's the revelation. I never thought to leave. I never thought there were racist. I had too much prayer time, too much fellowship, and not just outward. Like my soul was knit with people. Like I got Brother Ray, Brother Jared. Like I'm saying, like my soul was them. So I knew it's not true that this is a racist organization, but I knew you couldn't tell anybody that because they could point to all the things that were taking me down right now to where I said, and they could point to all those things and say, that's look, and even what is happening with your family, like what's happening with your personal family. Look at that, and look at what they're saying. And look at the meetings they're having. And look at what they said to your family to divide your family from you. And look at how they tried to make you be a rural. Brother, they're trying to put me in a John Deere hat and give me a country accent.
I cannot imagine.
Well, how everybody really, with John Deere. I was going to be Uncle Tom for real if I wasn't. I'm just saying. And there's nothing wrong with being a country boy. All of us are country boys. Our history is country boys.
Yes,
all the black people.
Yeah,
no problem. But I'm saying you had to be a certain kind of person. And that was a revelation to me. And so I wrote the book. Like, I'm just going to write this. And ever since then, I've been preaching it. I really would think some of the church people that we are with, like in our church today, so I'm a church leader. But do y'all know that I wasn't going to be a church leader?
Like the drama surrounding that?
Yeah, like I was, like it was the thought was I can't possibly be a church leader because my relationships are not good. Like I do not have good relationships with people.
That was what it was based on?
Yes. I don't have good relationships with people. I don't know how to relate to people. And there's some things that I'm going to have to learn how to do. I'm going to have to learn how to do what people like and be with them and work with them. And what it was. Now,
we were children. To us,
you were children. And you ain't never made me my dreams.
I didn't even know you remember about that.
From when y'all was little.
I didn't know you remember
you
about
talk
that.
about Miss Harris. Y'all was supposed to make me some greens when you were little.
But we did make greens this winter and invite you over.
Did I get them?
Did you come?
Yeah.
Was I sick?
You didn't come. You didn't come. And then by the time you got there, all that was left was the peach cobbler. And you just
Did I get some of that?
And probably the
Took it on home.
green
Okay,
juice.
we're good. So y'all gonna have to cook me some. I'm sorry, I had a flashback because y'all were like, "No, we were just little children." But
I'm just saying that when all the drama happened, like in our, we never even
Weird.
in our
Right.
minds
It
just knew he
was
was
just
like,
like,
it was
you
like
just
that
like, oh
intuition
yeah,
in
brother
children.
Hargrave. Okay.
Like, of course he's a leader.
No, but I'm telling
we
you,
were like,
Like when we heard people were
13.
struggling with it, we were like, wait, what?
Well,
were
that's
confused.
weird. We
As
grew up
teenagers,
on
we
you,
were
right?
confused.
Like,
no, there was no, yeah. I was actually, like, my ministry could, of course, you can't delete God's ministry.
Yeah.
But my ministry was actually on the verge of being deleted because my relationships were not good. Like, this was the heavy cloud. Brother Steph's relationships are not good. He's not good with people. He's not good relating with people. And what it was is I was just me. Mm-hmm. I wasn't good at being white.
And right
Now I gotta be fair. After I said that, somebody's gonna hear it and say that's not what it was, but it is what it was. It is, and that's where that book comes from. That's where that comes from. That's where the inspiration of it comes from. And I think that's a whole separate topic, maybe a separate podcast, maybe a podcast that we shouldn't do.
We should.
But and put it on our church app.
There you go.
Put on our church app and say, no, what did he say? And then I think it's important to know, because the world's not going to believe that you have found reconciliation for this issue. And if you try to pretend like something's there that it's not, nobody's going to actually believe you.
for sure.
So you've never experienced racism at your church, and somebody looking on, because I'm a certain personality, somebody looking on and be like, okay, so where's all the black people? You never, there's nothing
There's no
racist
racism.
ever
If
happened
there's
to
no
you
racism,
at all.
And it sounds that good.
There's no, and you say, no, because Jesus, and they'd be like, look, you're crazy. Nobody believes you. But if you're claiming to have an answer, or the Bible has an answer to this issue, then people would have expected that you would have had to negotiate through the difficulties of what this is and still be unified and still have the answer for the world, still have the scriptures, not be interested in leaving or departing or division or all those things. And that is what I think makes us unique. I know that's what makes us unique.
It's definitely what makes us unique because
nobody
stays unified over that issue.
No, nobody stays. Somebody's like, hey, brother, you go start your own church. And they don't know, be like, oh, you can't do that. Yeah. Why can't you? Because Jesus, the one that built the church. You have to endeavor to keep the unity of the Spirit and the bonds of peace. And if you have the unity of the Spirit, it doesn't mean that your actions are altogether right. Was somebody racist to you? Yes.
In the church?
Yes. How bad?
Bad.
Like,
Real bad.
like I'm saying, you can't, like,
Low down
bad.
to the gravy bag.
So you getting back at them now? That's why you wrote the book. Look, that's not even who black people are.
Right.
Historically, that's not who we are. And so I think you have to have all that to develop the right narrative of what's going on. And now we're going to eat.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's my privilege. Y'all got to say a goodbye, or do y'all have a goodbye? Thank you for tuning in to Gotta Be Me.
Well, that's the end of another episode of Gotta Be Me podcast. That was heavy. If you watched that whole thing, well, good for you.
You're a trooper.
Yeah,
you're a trooper.
Yeah,
if you watch the whole thing yourself, this
That
is
was a
going to
lot.
be the least viewed
It's not.
podcast that you have.
It's not.
Because this is a heavy weight of something.
not.
You're a soldier. As a matter of fact, if somebody watched this, I want their address.
You know what? We need to.
I need to contact them if they sat through this.
Comment.
There's soldier emojis, aren't there? Is there?
Yeah, the little salute
Comment
thing.
a soldier if you stay to the end.
Yeah, if you stay to the end.
Look it up on
If you stay to the
emoji,
end.
you'll find one.
And we will message you. We will DM you because that is spectacular.
Message them.
That's spectacular.
You're gonna have one person.
But
to
it's been well worth it. And if you haven't learned anything, then you weren't listening. And we're so thankful that Brother Steph came. We're so thankful for all he's taught us all through our lives. And then we're thankful that he came on the podcast, was willing to just visit with us. His time is precious. So the fact that he gave us 2 hours of it, we consider ourselves very blessed. Thank you for being here. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all in the comments. Y'all know what time it is.
Peace, love, and hair grease.
Hair grease. What about the white folks?
They're fine.